Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Friday the 4th of July. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Waikato District Health Board's Population Health Service has to date been notified of 95 confirmed measles cases, an increase of 11 since the last update on the 27th of June. Of the 95 cases, 48 are laboratory confirmed and the rest are close contacts of a confirmed case with a clinically compatible illness. Almost a quarter of the confirmed cases are household contacts of a confirmed case and were already placed in quarantine before they were unwell. Dr. Anita Bell says approximately 80% of those cases are aged between 10 to 20 years of age. The schools in our area with quarantine management in place are Mairoa Intermediate, out of quarantine on the 11th of July, and Frankton Primary, out of quarantine tomorrow, Saturday the 5th of July. Hamilton Boys High School came out of quarantine today. The Commerce Commission is seeking submissions on its proposed average price limits and quality targets for 16 electricity distributors. The draft default price quality paths covers the period of 2015 to 2020 and will take effect from the 1st of April 2015. Commerce Commission Deputy Chair Sue Begg says the draft price quality paths balance the need to ensure that these businesses have incentives to invest and to improve the efficiency and quality of their services while being constrained from achieving excessive profits. The Commission is also proposing new incentive schemes that will provide long-term benefits for consumers by rewarding and penalising businesses based on their performance. A decked-out bright blue classic Bedford school bus is the driving force behind a Western Bay Plenty District Council initiative to connect with the community. The Betty will travel the roads of the district during the last 2 weeks of July for the Portraits of Our Place road trip. Western Bay Mayor Ross Patterson announced today the venture is about getting out into the community and hearing from residents about what's important to them, their neighbourhood and where they see council fitting in. Federated Farmers Dairy Industry Group has elected Feilding farmer Andrew Hoggard as its new chairperson. The Federation's Dairy Council also elected Waikato's Chris Lewis to be one of 2 vice chairpersons, joining Kevin Robinson, who was reconfirmed in that role. Andrew Hoggard says the challenges and arguments about dairy have grabbed the headlines, but this has masked many of the good things dairy farmers are doing, and he would like to rectify this. Now for the coastal forecast, West Coast Raglan, rising early Saturday westerly of 30 knots, easing Saturday evening of 15 knots and high tide is at 9:03 a.m. East Coast Bay Plenty, she is variable out there. Here we go. Southwest 15 knots, but 25 knots gusting to 35 knots in the west, becoming westerly 25 knots gusting to 35 knots everywhere in the morning, rising to 30 knots gusting 40 knots in the west for a time in the morning and afternoon. Easing to southwest 15 knots in the evening, but 20 knots in the west. There are rough seas out there early and the easing in the evening. Fair visibility and the few showers there. High tide is at 12:38 p.m. in Tauranga. Just ahead, the annual plan for the Waipa district. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. The Waipa community has some big decisions to make when it comes to water supply and where it comes from. I caught up with Mayor Jim Milcrest to see what the latest is with the consent process on the Pirongia water supply.
Well, the situation at the moment is that our water supply on Pirongia, we have a consent till 2030, and that seems a long way away. But when you're reorganising or having to reorganise a water system, then that's not a long lead-in period. And effectively, what will happen at that point is that our capacity to take water from the catchment on Pirongia will reduce by about, we'll go from 12,000 cubic metres per day down to about 3,000 cubic metres a day. So we're only going to be able to take about 25% out of the stream that we currently are using. So that'll mean that we have to look for alternative supplies for Te Awamutu, and of course we've got a treatment facility on the side of Prongia now that is capable of producing 12,000 cubic metres a day, which will be redundant to a large degree. And this is all because of national water standards now, limiting the amount of water you can take out of catchments.
When did those standards come in around water?
Oh, look, I couldn't give you an exact date, but it's a national water policy statement that the regional council have to abide by, and then the district councils have to apply to the region for consents to take water from those streams. And I suppose from my perspective, we probably need to be a little bit more pragmatic about it. We have a situation with ours in Te Awamutu. We've been taking water out of the stream since about 1926. And it seems logical to me to carry on with the infrastructure already there, to carry on taking the water from that stream rather than going and mucking up another catchment. So I think there needs to be a little bit more pragmatic decision making on some of these issues, because it'll be a huge cost, and we're estimating that having to go and find a new source, pipe it possibly from the Waikato River over by a treatment plant in Cambridge, could be a cost of $28 million for the community. So it's a huge cost, and we need to look at rationalising those.
How will the council go about assessing the environmental impacts of all of these options?
Well, we will have to undertake that environmental assessment process. The regional council is the one who I suppose has the statutory authority to grant or not the consent, but the council would have to employ consultants to do an analysis of the stream and what impact that we've had, what impact we're likely to have on other catchments if we decide to take it from those. But at the moment, the alternative really is looking for us to be actually drawing from the Waikato River and pumping it across. We already have treatment facilities in Cambridge. They would need to be expanded, but it would be that's the most logical alternative supply.
How much is that looking to cost?
Oh, well, that's part of that 28 million that I mentioned before. So effectively, it's expanding that plant, putting in a massive mains from Cambridge to Te Awamutu, and of course you've got all the additional operating costs because it has to be pumped from the Waikato River, whereas at Prongia we've got gravity-fed supply. So there's all those additional costs that run with that.
Talking about the annual plan, what is the rate increase over the next year?
We have a 2.9% rate increase, which is significantly less than was predicted in our long-term plan, which was about 4.7, I think. So with some cost savings and a few projects that are not going ahead, that's managed to be retained at that 2.9%.
As you mentioned, that's quite a lot lower than was anticipated. What are some of those projects that you've put aside or deferred? I mean, not many councils around the country can boast that kind of saving.
Well, one of the major ones that's gone on hold at the present time is the Cambridge swimming pool project, and we've managed to get savings by doing joint services with adjoining local bodies in the areas of civil defence, for argument's sake. So we've made internal savings. So, but the major project I think that has actually been just deferred at the moment is the Cambridge pool upgrade.
Why did you guys decide to defer the pool?
Well, effectively what happened was the council had planned to build a swimming pool, and it was at about $12 million, I think, somewhere in that sort of order for a new pool facility. But there were a lot of arguments within the community whether they wanted to retain their existing 50-metre outdoor pool or provide, which is only available for 5 months of the year over the summer, as opposed to a new indoor complex that would be available 365 days a year, heated water, hydrotherapy pools, those sorts of facilities. So, and there was a debate going within the community, and council said, well, if the community can raise $4 million then they will fund the rest by either asset sales or a loan funding. So the council was going to provide the $8 million, as it were, $8 or $9 million.
If you'd like to find out about anything about the council, visit waipardc.gov.nz and you can download a copy of the annual plan there as well. Still to come on Central News, the Waikato Pistons end their season 6th on the table. Welcome back. The Waikato Pistons season came to an end with a loss to the Wellington Saints in Hamilton last Sunday. Coach of the Pistons, Pero Cameron, now shifts his focus to the Tall Blacks' upcoming series with South Korea in preparation for the World Champs later this year. Anne-Marie spoke with Pero to find out how he felt about the Pistons ending the season 6th on the table, just missing out on the playoffs.
Pero Cameron, welcome back to Central News and congratulations on the close of the season for the Waikato Pistons.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, pretty good year. We wish we made the playoffs, but we just missed out, and it's always next year.
We wish you made the playoffs too, but number 6, not bad considering you're kind of rebuilding this year.
Yeah, we had a young team, but our goal was to make the playoffs, so we're a little bit disappointed there. But a lot of guys stepped up, and we found a couple of young players who will definitely be coming back next year.
This year was about building a strong base, wasn't it, on which to improve? Do you think you did that?
We were always looking for talent. We gave a couple of young guys the opportunity this year, and they made the most of it. One of the young guys, Dyson Hawea, he made the Tall Black 24, so he has a trial next week.
Wow.
And that's pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's 21 and it's great for him.
What about your imports? You had Corinne Henry and Akeem Wright.
Yeah, Corin and Akeem both had pretty good years. It's tough. They didn't have a lot around them. They had some experience of Casey Frank and also Zach Carter from Brisbane. But we were undermanned, and I felt those two stood up and played really well, and under the circumstances, played hard and right to the end. But they were tough.
And they were great to watch on court as well.
Yeah, I think they were exciting, very athletic, and very skilled.
Definitely.
It's always good to watch Americans. They bring something different to this to the competition, and it's great for Kiwis to watch them. They inspire a lot of young kids.
I loved watching Corin Henry. He was the shortest player on court, let's be frank, point guard, but man, he can jump so high. He's
only around 5'8", I think, and he dunks easy, it's 10 feet. And he's the fastest on the court, and he's the fittest. He plays pretty much 40 minutes a game. And, he was a pleasure to watch, and such a professional and great off the court with the kids, really good dude.
Absolutely. Casey Frank, we mentioned him before, he definitely had a great season too.
Yeah, he was solid for us. He brings a lot of experience and was able to mould this team and a pretty good facilitator for a lot of our players and for the plays that we run.
Your focus now moves to the Tall Blacks.
Yep.
We've got a 3-test home series coming up against South Korea.
South Korea, yeah. We're playing Wellington,
yes.
Tauranga and Auckland on the 15th, 17th and 19th of July. And it's a bit of a kind of warm-up games against a team that's also in the World Champs. It's in Spain this year, and at the start of September.
They're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think Korea's going to be very tough, but we need some tough competition to get us ready for the World Cup.
So, how are the ticket sales going? Have we got? Is New Zealand behind their national basketball team?
It's a little slow, but it's at Ticketek. I'm not too sure on Wellington and Tauranga where that's going, but Auckland's looking good.
Yes.
They've got a great venue up there, and it's going to be live on television also. So it's going to be on Sky. So it's going to be a great series.
What do we know about the South Korean team?
Very fast, very skillful, and across the board they're pretty tall. We've been looking at that team for probably a week now. Paulie and I and the head coach Nenad. And there are a lot of things about the team we like them, as the way they play. And I don't think we've played them for quite a while, maybe 10 years, maybe more, when they travelled and played here. So it's going to be tough. They play a different way, which is pretty up and down, and they love the three-point shot. Yeah.
We don't want them to get the three-point shot. How's our Tall Black squad looking?
Yeah, good. We're slowly, we come together next week.
Okay.
And Tuesday we have our trials. We've got a group of 24, and we've got to narrow that down to 16
Right.
in a squad, and we'll see how they go over the 3 games.
It's are there any standout players at the moment that you've got your eye on, or you don't want to mention just yet?
No, it'll be interesting to see who comes into camp. We've named our group, and there are some niggles and injuries and things we have to deal with. And
Right.
we'll just see who comes into camp, who comes in ready and hungry. It's wide open.
Who wants it?
Who wants it? Who wants to be a part of it? And yeah, this is the year we got to have our best group on the floor.
How do we grow basketball in New Zealand? How do we get that passion back for the Tall Blacks that was evident 10 years ago when you were playing?
It's success. We've got to perform. We've got to put the right processes in place. We've got to be in the schools. And it's a very popular sport. We've just got to be more in the schools, more in the community. And, the Breakers are doing pretty good. They didn't have a great year this year, but, overall they've been a very good team. I think there are things there that, that puts your hands up to lend themselves to the community, that they're doing good.
Yeah.
But there's some other things we can improve on, and we're slowly getting that right. And the NBL has taken a huge step forward this year with how competitive it is.
Fantastic. Now, tickets are reasonably priced for the Tall Blacks. They're at ticketek.co.nz.
Yeah,
So we
Ticketek,
need-
they're
Yep.
$29. It's pretty good.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere, and it's great to see your national team performing at a pretty high level before they go to the Worlds.
For Tall Blacks tickets, go to ticketek.co.nz and get behind your national basketball team. Stay tuned. As up next, we check out your weather for the weekend and corporate travel. Where are safe places to travel? Welcome back to Central News. Now, Tauronga's export and manufacturing-led economic growth means local executives from the area are travelling offshore more frequently to develop new export markets. Orbit Corporate Travel is setting up a new office in Tauranga.
Well, firstly, Paul, why do you think there's a need for a business like this in Tauranga?
With New Zealand businesses, we sit geographically at the bottom of the world. So in order to develop new markets, retain distribution chains and relationships, New Zealand businesses must travel. And there is a real opportunity for Orbit in this marketplace to support local businesses do that better.
What are some of the potentially dangerous places that business people can potentially travel to?
I think there's a misconception out there that New Zealand businesses are quite traditional and we only focus on traditional markets. From our side of things, we see Kiwis very innovatively looking at new markets that are outside of your traditional markets such as Europe or the US or Australia. So we see people going into Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Middle East, Turkey, Eastern Europe, Russia, South America. So whilst there is some real hotspots within each of those countries and they're well identified and we work with the travellers to minimise the risk, I think as a general rule of thumb, where there is unrest, there is risk.
And how do you go about making that travel for them as safe as possible?
I think it's in the planning and the preparation and understanding where that traveller is travelling to, what his profile is of whether they're an experienced traveller or quite new to that particular role. Gender comes into it, so a single lady travelling by herself also has some pretty dramatic implications. And then, of course, where they're travelling to. Does that country or region have cultural issues that we need to be aware of? So outside of visas and so on. But we work with the individual client as a traveller and then the company as a customer of Orbit to mitigate those risks, plan for them, and then we go about making sure that their transfers are organised. Rather simple things like rather than arriving at a airport at the middle of the night and jumping into a taxi, you organise a vetted taxi, private transfers. We do everything from bodyguards to making sure that the hotel that they're booked into has the right safety precautions. And in some cities, through Indonesia and Philippines as examples, and now in the Middle East, we look at where those hotels are located and make sure that they are low risk.
Now, one of the kind of exciting services you offer, Paul, through your new concept is on-ground crisis support. Now, that can mean a lot of things, but in your particular case, what is it exactly? What's involved?
I think we are there alongside the traveller every step of the way. So we won't be carrying their bags or travelling with them, but we can mitigate those risks, as I said, by doing all the pre-planning. For groups, we look after a lot of business groups and school groups. We send one of our staff or two of our staff, depending on the numbers, to actually travel with them, and that provides them the safety aspect and the logistical support that they need to get on with what they are doing and not worry about the travel side of things.
For more information, go to orbit.co.nz. Now for the weather for the weekend. Hamilton, let's start with you. Saturday, occasional showers clearing later in the day with fresh westerlies. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 3. The rest of the Waikato, occasional showers clearing late and the fresh westerlies gradually easing too. Paeroa, you're looking at 17 and 6 for your expected temperatures. Matamata 15 and 6. Te Awamutu 16 and 3. Tokoroa 13 and 3. Bay of Plenty, Tauranga starting off your Saturday with cloudy periods and a southwesterly, but the clouds and the wind will disappear in the afternoon. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 6. Te Puke, the same for you, cloudy periods with a southwesterly dying out and 15 and 6 for you. Sunday for you, Hamilton, is looking like it will be fine with a little northeast breeze. Your expected high of 13 and overnight low of 3. The rest of the Waikato, same. Fine, northeast breezes developing. Downside to those clear skies, a little cooler on the temperatures though. Paeroa 15 and 7, Matamata 13 and 8, Te Awamutu 13 and 3, Tokoroa 11 and 3. Tauranga, your Sunday, mainly fine with light winds. Your expected high is 14 and an overnight low of 7. Te Puke 12 and 7 for your Sunday and mainly fine with morning frost to be expected. That is Central News for tonight and this week. We love to hear from you, so email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on Facebook and post us a comment. Make sure you tune in next week as we find out the latest on the Waitangi Tribunal into the Rena Wreck. The new Steamers team, do they have the goods to make it into the Premiership this season? And the first shopping centre to go green. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.